Hey everybody, it's Lisa and Dr. Moon from True North Homeschool Academy, and we are here to talk about summer classes which begin June 5th and go to July 15th, so 6-week summer classes. Kristen is on to talk about the math for chemistry class, and oh my gosh, you guys, if your kids are going to take chemistry, they need this class. And I'm going to let Kristen tell you exactly why, but I'll chime in too because it's just a necessary class for your kids to love chemistry.
Mhm.
So yeah, take it away, Kristen.
Well, so first of all, let me say, because I get this question a lot, and I'm going to try to address all the questions that I get. Do you have to be taking my chemistry class? No,
Yep.
you absolutely do not have to be taking my chemistry class to get a benefit from this math skills for chemistry summer class, because the math skills that we're going to be covering are used universally. So whatever, if your kid is going to be taking chemistry in a co-op, if they've got a textbook that they're going to be using, it doesn't matter. These are the math skills that they're going to need to be able to do in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And, I have been teaching high school chemistry for a really long time. And what I've seen by and large is that kids get excited about learning the science. They have
Yes.
no trouble understanding the chemistry, but where they really struggle is just applying the math, and they get really frustrated. And we're not talking about advanced math here. Most high school chemistry classes, the only math prerequisite is algebra 1. And
Yeah.
so really and truly, we're not talking about super complicated things, but we are asking students to use these algebra 1 math skills in different ways. We're asking them to apply them, and sometimes it's a little bit like deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Um, and really, I've seen so many students get frustrated in chemistry because of the math that about 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to make this math skills for chemistry summer class. So I guess this is my third year teaching
Yeah.
it. We always pack it, and I love it. And students who go on to take their full year chemistry class, they or their parents will come back to me and say, I'm so glad they took that summer class because that really helped them ace their chemistry.
Yeah.
So basically you froze. Did I freeze? You froze
No,
for a second.
I can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lost my train of thought for just a second. So during the 6-week class, we're just going to take those math skills and we're going to practice 1 or 2 of them a week. Now, it is true that a lot of chemistry classes and curriculum, they do teach those skills at the beginning of the book, but a lot of times they just go through them so quickly because they want to get on to the chemistry. So
Yeah.
that's why I like this summer class, because we can take our time. We're going to
Right.
spend a whole week learning about significant figures or
Mm.
significant digits. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to learn how to identify them, how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, a
Yeah.
whole week. And then we're going to move on to scientific notation. Whereas in a chemistry co-op or a class, you might be like fitting a whole bunch of stuff into a single week. We're going to
Right.
stretch it out. So significant figures, scientific notation. And scientific notation is when we take either really big numbers or really small numbers and we put them into scientific notation,
Yeah.
which use exponents. So we're going to
Mhm.
review what exponents
Yeah.
are. We're going to learn how to do calculations with scientific notation. And something that I'm really proud of, we're going to take time to learn how to use our scientific calculator. Because
Yay.
I am a huge advocate of high schoolers learning how to use their scientific calculator.
Yeah.
Now, I recognize that most of them carry their cell phone that has a calculator on it, and they've got calculators on their computers. So I always have students every year say, can I just use the one on my phone or my computer? And I
Yeah.
say, no, I
Yeah.
want you to have a scientific calculator. And I'm not just being mean, I'm being practical,
Mhm.
because when they go to take the SAT or the ACT,
Yeah.
they can't use their cell phone. They're not even allowed to have their cell phone.
Yeah.
And also if they go on to college, they're not going to be able to use their cell phone to take
Yeah.
their exams.
Right.
And if the first time that they're using their scientific calculator is when they're going to take the SAT or the ACT, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we actually take time in this summer class. I've got my little document camera. I've got my scientific calculator. I have them bring theirs to class, and we literally walk through the steps of putting numbers in scientific notation in the scientific calculator and making sure we all get the right answers. And if
Okay.
not, we troubleshoot. I want them to get really comfortable using this in the summer course so that they can use it in the full year course.
Yeah.
Those are two topics. Then the other thing that we learn how to do is how to do dimensional analysis, which is also called unit conversions, how
Hmm.
to convert from one unit to another,
Yeah.
because most of us are really familiar with the imperial system of units.
Hmm.
But in chemistry and all of the sciences, we use the metric system.
Right.
So if we're measuring something in inches, we've got to get it into centimeters.
Yeah.
If we're measuring temperature in Fahrenheit, we have to figure out how to get that into Celsius and Kelvin.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
spend a week learning how to do unit conversions.
Yeah.
And then the final skill that we're going to learn or review is how to rearrange algebraic formulas, because we
Mhm.
use a lot of formulas in chemistry.
Yeah.
The first formula that kids are probably going to use is the density formula.
Mhm.
And that's got 3 variables in it. So if I give you 2 of the variables, let's rearrange the equation to solve for the 3rd variable.
Mhm.
But in chemistry, when you get to the gas laws, you're dealing with formulas that have 5 or 6 variables in it.
Mm.
And that is where I see a lot of kids stumble,
Right.
because they get totally confused. How do we rearrange this bulky looking gas formula to solve for this one variable? So
Right.
we're going to take time to work through that
I
step by
love it.
step. How do we solve for this variable? How do we solve for this variable? And we do it in fun ways. I recognize it's summer. It's summer for me too. So, I mean, we're going to make it fun. We're going to play games. Any homework that I give them to practice the skill are going to be fun. They're going to be, mystery pictures that they have to use their newly acquired skill to color it in a certain way that reveals the picture, or mazes or games. The final class of the year is going to be a digital escape room. So they're going to have to use all the things that they've learned in class to make their way out of the digital escape room.
I
So
love
I
it.
try to make it fun, because I recognize I'm asking a lot of these students to give up, an hour a week in their summer to do
Mhm.
math for
Yeah.
chemistry. But I really and truly feel like it's going to set them up for success.
I do too. I think this is a front end load kind of class. I mean, once they get this down, they can go into chemistry and have confidence. And I know when I was going to high school, chemistry was like one of those harder classes where people just kind of dreaded it unless you were really super mathy or a little bit ahead in math, because the math moves so fast during the chemistry class. And I love that you're just setting time aside to go, here's the skill, because it's a group of skills that you really have to have down to really access chemistry. Yeah.
Oh, and I meant to say that I've been acquiring all these little organizers and fact sheets. So these are going to be little bookmarks I'm going to give out to the students that then they can take with them. So these
Yeah.
are the metric prefixes. This one talks about scientific notation. So giving this all to my students so that even if they go on and take chemistry from somebody else,
Yeah.
they will have these tools at their disposal.
Right.
Because I really do think chemistry is amazing. And I
Yeah.
want students to be there for
Yeah.
learning the science. I don't want them to get bogged down with the math. I want them
Right.
to be, champs at that.
Yeah. I think chemistry and science in particular is more important than ever before, because our kids are living in this weird smash up of the Flat Earth Society meeting yearly and the Transhumanity Society meeting yearly. So they're in this smash up world of medieval and sci-fi.
Yeah.
And so if they can really get a hold of science, they're going to be able to understand facts from fiction,
Right.
truth,
Yeah.
non-truth, what is really possible, what isn't. And also it just sets them up for, we are going to live in a really technological world, and it's here, the fourth industrial revolution. I talk about this all the time: AI, drones, 3D printing, precision economy. Science sets your kids up for future vocational success, whatever they go into.
I mean, sometimes I wish I had a time machine and I could go back. No, I don't want to be a time machine. I want to be able to join this generation in going out to the workforce, because there's so many incredible jobs available
Yeah.
that weren't even on the horizon when I was going to school. I'm excited for our kids.
Yeah.
And I really, I want them to be prepared.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you said that, because I think a lot of people are really kind of nervous and afraid of the tech that is here and that's coming. And really, knowledge can be really powerful, and chemistry is the basis of so much of the new tech coming down the pike. And this is going to set your kids up. Even if they don't go into a STEM field or a science field, they'll be able to join the conversations and understand them well. So, like a good typical course of study for high school, these are intro classes so that your kids can join the conversation.
Right.
Regardless of what they go into in life. And your class is fantastic. Your chemistry classes are full every year. So you guys, if you're interested in taking chemistry with Dr. Moon, sign up sooner than later. The 6-week math for chemistry starts the week of June 5th.
Right.
And we are going to do a BOGO sale on all of our summer classes. So if you're not on the newsletter, get on it right now and go check the website. And you're going to want to sign up tonight or tomorrow because we'll have that live for you. So buy one, get one free on summer classes right now, starting today.
That's really cool.
What else should people know? I mean, why, a lot of people avoid hard sciences because of the math. Why should they work through the math to understand science?
Because it's totally worth it, number one. And I mean, it's always so satisfying. First of all, I don't like the idea of just avoiding something because it's hard.
Right.
Because those of us who have done hard things, when you come to the other side of it and you've accomplished it, don't you know that feeling? It's wonderful. And it's a pride, a sense of accomplishment. Why would you want to rob your kids of that feeling? Plus you get the knowledge, so there are certain curriculum, I believe, that are less math heavy for chemistry. So those are available, but I really and truly feel like chemistry can be taught well with the math, with, just that algebra 1 prerequisite, and they can still just learn absolutely amazing things.
Yeah. This class it is worth every penny because, again, our kids are going to work and live in a very science, STEM oriented culture and society. And if they understand the math that goes behind the chemistry, they're going to be able to differentiate truth from fiction, and they're going to be able to join the conversation. And I just want to, if people don't know this about your classes, Kristin, we have kids who go into Kristin's classes every single year, and we hear from the moms and the kids later that said, my daughter hated science and now she's thinking about a STEM career, or she's going to go into nursing, or she never ever thought that chemistry would be anything that floated her boat, and now she just wants to do advanced chemistry. These are the kind of comments we get a ton of every year, right?
And the thing is, chemistry and physics and biology and anatomy, they're just cool. And I don't think that I'm necessarily doing anything special. I think that I just think that it's really cool, and I think that I can express that well. I'm just kind of like pulling back the curtain and saying, see, and then they just get excited, and it's just contagious. So
well, you have amazing classes. They're super well organized. You do games, and your enthusiasm is infectious. Plus, you really know your stuff. So that's where I always fall down on math and chemistry. I'd love to teach you formal poetry any day, but math and chemistry, I know it and I can do it. But to tell somebody else or instruct somebody else, that's like a whole different skill set. And you do it so very well. So I love the fact that you offer these classes, a PhD offering your kids high school classes. You guys, they're getting such a wealth of information. Dr. Moon loves science. Tell us a little bit about your science background for those of you who might not have heard it before.
So I'm going to share this fact because it usually surprises people, because I'm so into science now that I did not go into college with the planning to major in science. I didn't know I liked science until I got to my freshman. We had to take, your gen eds, and I took like a survey of biology class. Let's just check the box and get done with it. And that is the first time that I really and truly understood what DNA was and its role in cells. What the big deal is about our genes. That's how I learned about how viral infections work. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is crazy. This is a wonderful thing. And so I immediately changed my major and I majored in microbiology. Absolutely loved it. Not quite sure what I wanted to do with it when I started. I just knew this thing lit my fire. This is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like an MD doctor. I didn't want to go to vet school, didn't want to go to dental school. So I kind of just by default, this is a horrible reason, but by default, I went to graduate school and got my PhD, but thinking that I would do scientific research. And I
Mhm.
did do scientific research while I was an undergrad and then in graduate school. But that really was like my long-term goal. And I thought that I would do that. And then I had my first son and it was like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I got to go home
He went
because
out.
yeah, it was just, I could not leave him.
Yeah.
I didn't want someone else to be with him for all of his moments and everything else. So I just left it. People said I was, making such a horrible decision. I disappointed everybody in the department, but I left to come home with him. And then eventually we found homeschooling. Even before my boys were old enough to be homeschooled, people were asking me would I come and teach high school science. So yeah, I've been teaching high school science to the homeschool community for a really long time, well before my own boys
Yeah.
were my pupils. So
Yeah. And I love the fact that your boys actually went into
they
STEM
did.
careers, STEM fields, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so my older son, he graduated in December. He got his degree in electrical engineering. He was just meant to be an engineer, and he is. So he's got a job now, absolutely amazing. He's engaged. He's going to get married in September. Just really excited for all
Oh,
the things happening in his life. And then my younger son he's settled on a biology degree, so that's more like my wheelhouse.
yeah.
And he's not quite sure what he wants to do with it, thinking that he might like me go into graduate school. But he is spending time this summer working in a lab.
Oh,
He's actually working in an aviary lab, like he's working with ducks
wow.
and ducklings and stuff, and getting a feel for what research is like to
Yeah.
see if that's something that he
Yeah.
might want to pursue in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. You're not just teaching chemistry in the fall. Tell us about the other classes.
So I'm teaching biology. So biology is a great first high school science class.
Yeah.
It just really is, because there's no math prerequisite, number one. And when I rank my classes in terms of difficulty, I would say biology is the least difficult, just because I plan it that way. I pretty
Yeah.
much think I'm getting my middle schoolers transitioning into high school. This is going to be their first class. So just really, really fun. I have an optional honors track for that class. Chemistry, also, we've already talked about that I do have an optional honors class track as well.
Yeah.
Anatomy and physiology is a really great class too. That one, my prerequisite is not a math prerequisite, but I want people to have taken biology before they take anatomy.
Yeah.
Because obviously when we're talking about the human body and all the different body systems, we're going to be needing to understand cells and how cells talk to each other, but I'm not going to teach cells in the same way that I teach them in biology. I'm going to assume that my A&P students are already coming in with that background knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's a fun class. And then physics. I added physics last year. That was that grew me, but it was a really fun class, and I'm excited. I'm changing it up. Like, I'm thinking over this summer how I'm going to, maybe swap out some labs, and some things I wish we had more time spending on those certain topics. So I'm trying to figure out how to change it just a little bit, but
Yeah.
really excited about that as well.
I love it. You mentioned labs. That is the question I get all the time about the science classes. How on earth do you do labs online?
So for the majority of my classes, the labs I assign and they do at home. So there's already a supply list in the course description, so parents can know what the kids are going to need ahead of time and go ahead and order them and have them at the ready. So most of the labs they do for homework, and then they turn in their reports to me and I grade them and give them feedback. With the exception of dissections. Dissections in biology, we have one dissection day that I do during our live class. Students can choose to dissect their own frog and worm at home as I'm doing it on camera, or they can just choose to watch. I'm not going to make anyone dissect. So that is a lab that we do together. A&P, we do several dissections together. As we go through the body systems, we will dissect a chicken wing, which that surprises some people, but just a regular old chicken wing from the grocery store, because when we dissect the chicken wing, we're actually using that dissection for 3 different body systems: the integumentary system, which is skin and hair and feathers in the case of a chicken, muscular system, and the skeletal system. We dissect an eyeball, a heart, a brain, a kidney.
Wow.
and I feel like I might be missing one. But we do those once again on camera. Students can do it at home if they'd like to, or they can just watch. Chemistry, once again, most of the labs they're doing at home. There are a couple of labs that I do during our class because they need chemicals that I'm not going to ask my kids to buy because we're only going to use it for this one lab. So let me show you as I do the lab and we can talk about the results. But I don't make them get that. And then once again, physics, hands-on labs, they do them at home. But I also use a lot of virtual labs for physics because with physics, when you're dealing with forces and on all of this stuff, some of them require equipment that would be hard for a kid at home to do. So that's when I'm using a lot of these virtual labs that, they're able to, do car crashes virtually and all these different types of things. Physics specifically, I really try to get them to understand the physics of their real life because there are so many applications to our student drivers,
Right.
Why are you wearing a seatbelt? Well, let's figure this out. What happens when, you hit another car or, you're not slowing down as you're coming down a hill or the lights turning red, what's your stopping distance going to be? So I try to make it, I try to make them really think about, the fact that they're going to be operating this piece of heavy equipment and, physics still applies no matter how cool they think that they may be.
Yeah, I love it. You're talking like a boy, Mom. I love it. I just want everybody who's listening to realize how well planned out your classes are because you're not creating them as you go. You have everything so planned out. And with our learning management system, there's topic boards and bulletin boards, and we do post the videos if a kid misses a class. But again, Dr. Moon's classes are super popular. So if you want to get into a certain section, time and day, order sooner than later because they will fill. And the 6-week summer classes start the week of June 5th. They go for 6 weeks. And the math or chemistry, I just think anybody who's doing chemistry, unless your kid is really mathy and super confident, they should take this because it's going to just really set them up for success with chemistry. And they're not going to dread chemistry. They're going to go in with confidence and just like, I've got it. And so it's worth it. It's worth the time and money.
It's funny that you say that because some of my kids in my math skills from last summer then took my chemistry.
Yeah.
And when we were getting to those topics in the first week or so of the full year chemistry class, and all of the kids who hadn't taken the math skills class were like, all of the ones who'd taken my summer class, I mean, you could almost see a little bit of swagger, a little bit of cockiness because they're like, I got this, guys. I loved it. Another thing I wanted to mention is I understand that summer, lots of people have travel plans. You might have your student working. The classes are recorded. So I get that question a lot. What if my kid can't make the class? Well, they can come and watch the recording and still access the resources and the practice problems and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. And they do get a grade for this little, I think it's a quarter credit of time because your kids are going to have to put a little effort into it. But again, it's going to set them up for success. And who knows, we might have future chemists come out of these classes, which would make me happy. I just feel like we need people that are competent in the science fields now more than ever before. And there's so many opportunities in the science fields. What are your big plans for summer? Are you doing any great traveling? Are you planning a wedding? What?
I'm not really in charge. I'm the mother of the groom, so I'm not as much in charge of wedding planning as the mother of the bride, but it is really exciting to have a front row seat. And I did go with my son garage sailing. We had a neighborhood garage sale this past weekend, and he and I did drive around with the sole intent of trying to find things for their home. So I am involved. But anyway, we actually don't have any big plans, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with just a little peace and quiet and, enjoying time in my garden with my dogs. They need to be trained. They're about a year old now, and they're little, I don't know. They're little monsters that they need to be trained. So that's on my list, but no grand travel plans. It would be really nice to get away to Florida to see, to get dip my feet in the water.
Yeah.
I do miss that, but I don't know if that'll happen or not.
Do you ever not miss Florida if you were raised there?
Um, I mean, yeah, actually, because I love the seasons and Kentucky is gorgeous. Kentucky spring. I mean, I've said before, I think that heaven must look a lot like a Kentucky spring. It's
Aw.
absolutely gorgeous. Um, so I definitely will not be missing Florida when it's like July and August and people
The heat.
you don't go outside. People
Yeah.
think that Floridians are outside all the time. No,
Yeah.
Floridians in June, July, August are inside in air conditioning watching all of the tourists outside. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. Okay, you guys, I posted the link for the math for chemistry. And again, we've got a BOGO sale starting today. So if you're not on the email list, join it. And you can check the website later for that BOGO code. Kristin, thanks for doing live with me. If you guys have any questions about this class or any of the other classes that she teaches in the fall, biology, chemistry, A&P, and physics, you can just shoot us a message on this. And if it's not for me, I'll get it to Kristin or join the Facebook tribe group and we'll get them answered. But yeah, okay, it's summer. Enjoy your summer. Enjoy your yards, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
bye.
Thanks.